Hi everyone, my name is Kendrick and welcome to ENFP Mail. Today I get to interview Lynda. So Lynda, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here. Good to talk with you.
Same. Now, Lynda, you got your type back not too long ago. What was the official type that you got? Can you give us the official typing results?
It was Fe+Ne Si-Ti and then sleep, consume, play last.
So you are an ISFJ jumper.
I don't know if you can see that.
Yes, I can see it. So you are an ISFJ jumper.
Yes, and because I have a feminine SI, I'm learning that I'm very visual.
Yes.
And so I just write everything down. I have all these little things like that all over the place.
Yeah. Oh, I can see it from your background also.
Yes.
You kind of gave it away pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So what did you think and how did you feel when you got your typing results back?
It was interesting. I don't think they're wrong. I just had to figure out, I had to deconstruct everything and then reconstruct it in a way that made sense to me because I didn't understand everything. And so I just had to see how it really worked for me. And so I have a better understanding now about it. Didn't change me at all. I mean, it is me still, but I had to think about, for a long time, I had to think about what everything means. I think about everything all the time. It's ridiculous.
Is that because you have the sleep first?
Sleep, consume. So I think I switch back and forth between sleep, consume all the time. Like I want to know what everybody thinks about stuff. I consume a room, I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody, but like I know what people think, not about everything, but just certain things. It's really easy to do at work because there's a department and there's a finite amount of people, so I can figure out where people stand on certain things and what they think about certain procedures we do and stuff like that. But they don't know what each other thinks, but I know.
You have that must be the masculine NE that you have. Like you're very confident with like guessing what people think.
Well, I mean, I do a lot of listening. Less talking, more listening, and you learn a whole lot. Because I already know what I think. So why would I need that? I already know that. Sometimes I'm such a double decider that I see so many sides of things. And probably some of that's that you need too, but I like to look at all the sides and examine everything and figure out what I like a firm thought later.
Your sleep is double feminine. What's that like?
I don't know. I don't even realize that I do it. It's just something that it is me. So I kind of asked my family what it looks like because they can see it better than I can because it's the first one. They said that some of the things that they said, some of my coworkers said whenever I used to work day shift, they knew that I wouldn't be talking until after 9 o'clock, and we got there at about 5:45, but they knew, don't talk to Lynda till after 9 o'clock. Like that's my time. And I just don't talk as much in the morning. And my family says that I give responses that are necessary barely in the morning, and it takes an hour or two at least for me to start speaking to anybody. So sometimes I'll even try to get up early and I just have my time and I just think about what I want to think about.
You have a double masculine play. So what's that like? Like so after 9 o'clock you're ready to play with the tribe and it's double masculine.
Well, it's third on the list, so it's further down, so it doesn't happen first thing all the time, or almost none of the time. So it does happen later in the day, which is why I work night shift. And it is also my demon functions. It's also the double masculine. I mean, yeah, double masculine, like you said. And my play is Fe+Ne, so it's a lot of talking, a lot of humor, jokes, not anything somebody would take personally, hopefully, but just a lot of humor, just a lot of lighthearted, funny talk.
Gotcha. And it's also NF, so it's like very like hippie, like kind of like your like green screen in the back.
Yeah, well, this is the first time I did this green screen thing. This is
Yeah.
actually my husband's iPad, but I think it's pretty cool. I thought it'd be a little bit higher on the play side.
It is. It is. I noticed that your feminine SI is quite interesting because earlier you were telling me that you don't talk until after 9, and I was thinking you don't talk until after 9 a.m. But later on I realized it's after 9 p.m. because you said you work at.
No, when I worked day shift, we had to get there at 5:45 in the morning, and
Oh,
they knew not to talk to me till 9 o'clock in the morning.
got it. Got it. Okay. Okay. That was what was confusing me.
Yeah. Now that I work nights, I don't have to talk to a whole lot of people in the morning because they leave for work and school, and I can just have my time by myself without people around.
Right.
So, and I could, I'm responsive. I have to focus on being responsive sometimes, like, oh, I didn't answer that question. Oh, they're talking to me. And it pulls me out of my thinking. But yeah, it's just being responsive.
What about your blast last? Have you had any problems with having blast last?
It's a big problem, actually. I thought I was very good at blast, and I thought it was first, but it takes more energy for one thing, and for another thing, I just really don't like it.
Yeah.
At all. And so I thought, I'm really good at this, but it's an introverted blast. And they said, no, that's your SI. Like, no, that's not blast. Because I write things down, and I have stuff all over the house and in just stuff I've written down. But Shan said that's my feminine SI, trying to remember something visually. So I write it down. Even if I never look at it again, it just sticks easier in my head.
Right.
So the blast thing, they told me that I need to pick something that has less moving parts, not something that's so big like my entire extended family, but something that has my little family in it. And so go to like plan something that I can do every day if I wanted to, that's like only 30 minutes long, not very long, and like take the kids to the park or something was an example that they gave me. And they said, just make it really small, and then your whole goal is that everybody stays happy and nobody argues for that 30 minutes. Like, that's it. And so with the quarantine situation and me being in healthcare, we are not about to go to a park right now, but I did take that idea and I'm able to do some things with it, and it's going okay. The second time was really terrible, but it got done. I'm working on it. Just stuff where I tell people what to do and they listen to me, like direct it in a more succinct way and make sure that people are happy. And so anyway, with the blasted, it being a big problem in my life, I have to learn to speak up before it's a problem, before I'm like, I can't believe this trash needs to be taken out. Nobody's looking at it but me. Who am I, the only one that sees this? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So instead of waiting until too long and I'm already upset about something, I have to say something earlier to get it over with.
Got it. Got it. Your NE is last, but it's double activated. Do you feel like you have trouble with like that incoming NE chaos, or do you feel like it's more okay? It's not as bad. Like you kind of see it coming.
I think it's okay. My husband thinks it's a big problem for me. I ask him, and then his eyes get real big, like, you don't have a clue, do you? Like, because sometimes, because I make connections. I think he has like a, almost, I don't know if it's first or second, but I'm pretty sure that we will find out when he gets typed next month if he's where that NE is, but it's way higher than mine for sure. And so anyway, I make the wrong connections sometimes because my SI gets corrupted.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm upset about something, and so then the connections are there, and I have to be corrected sometimes. But I'm surrounded with NE in my life, and so it doesn't bother me so much as long as I just know that it's there. Like, I guess yesterday my family was being all chaotic, and I was trying to do a video and with somebody, and I really didn't notice it as much because I just was ignoring it, I guess. I tend to go into that sleep energy a lot and ignore my surroundings. I can do it pretty easy. So I can be comfortable just about anywhere, and I try to make other people comfortable. I don't really focus on what I'm doing so much as what other people are doing. That's a lot of information.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. It's good. Tell
I'm
me,
proud of my blast.
it is. Yeah, you're doing really good, actually. What's your IJ box like? Like, you know, they say that people who are like an IJ kind of personality have like an IJ box. So, what's your IJ box like?
We kind of talked about that a little bit. Me and the husband, we talk about everything. Like, we're such nerds about this kind of stuff. He asked me about that. He was trying to figure it out, and so I think probably my IJ box is my house. Like, it's physical to me.
Yes.
And so it's kind of chaotic in here because I live with people and they don't feel responsible for putting the physical things where the physical things go. And I just have to not be too angry about it. Like, I want the relationship more than I want the order. And so there's a give and a take there. There's a mutual respect for, okay, I'm going to put up with a little bit of clutter around here because you people are chaos monkeys, but I'm going to expect in return that whenever I say it's time for you to help me pick up so I don't get so stressed, then you're going to do that with me. Even if it's just 10 minutes at a time, like, even if it's just one room that I can go in that doesn't have all your stuff everywhere.
Got it.
That sounds horrible.
No, no worries. Just give me 1 second. I need to pause the interview real quick, okay? And I'll resume.
Okay.
Just give me 1 second. Again, we're back. And so, Lynda, do you feel like you have any problems with or so they said that people who are double deciders have problems with fear. So do you feel like you have a lot of fear around incoming chaos?
You know, I'm not so freaked out about some stuff like some other people are, and it kind of makes me wonder why. I think more so what I relate to is the aspect of when you have stuff going on that you can't control, your first instinct is to just try to control it more instead of let it happen. And so as I've grown older, I've had to realize that there's things I can control and things I can't control. And so I have to figure out, what can I not control? Okay, that can't go in my box. What can I control? That goes in my box. Like, I can figure out, it's easier if I can relate it to something that I've seen or done before or read about before. But I like to read a lot of information. The conflicting information is annoying to me, but I still want to consume it so that I can figure out what I think. because nobody's going to tell me what I think. I figure that out for myself based on my perspective, but I like to see everybody else's perspective so that I think I can change my perspective based on the people that are surrounding me. Like, people just have an influence on you sometimes. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes.
I'm not a flake. I don't flake around with what I think. I don't mean that, but I mean like, I just think people influence you, relationships influence you. I'm really trying to focus on that relationships part. That's my latest project because I am so introverted and it's a little bit harder sometimes to put myself out there. But it's going okay.
Oh, that's good. You are self above tribe. Do you feel like you've had IP problems where like the tribe gets mad at you for being kind of selfish?
I don't see that as much as the reasons they get upset with me is because I get bossy.
Okay.
Probably the last again. But I'm not, I don't, it's hard to describe because I really didn't see myself as self above tribe until Dave described to me what that really was about. And then I was like, okay, I get it now. And I don't mean to throw any negative towards the people that are tribe above self because there's a place for that too. But for me, I do a lot of things for the tribe and I'm more tribal than an IP would be, for example, like because the TI is lower, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm still thinking about that. But more of my problems come from like, and it doesn't seem to bother anybody. The NF vibe is worse for me, but as far as self above tribe, like I join in with the tribe a lot, even if I don't agree with what they're doing. Even if it's not the most logical thing, I still follow their vibe, if that makes any sense. But I do, the way that Dave described it is I know exactly what's going on, what the tribe is doing at all times. I've got my eyes on them and I'm watching what's going on. And then I'm deciding whether I'm going to join that, which a lot of times I will. But if it gets too chaotic with too much stress for me, then I kind of step back. And it's not that I really went anywhere. It's just that I needed a minute. Like, I'll just step back from that. Like sometimes if there's 3 stinky things that happen, then I will decide I'm not doing that event. And just 3 things that don't match my patterns or something that things that give me the vibe that that's not going to work for me. It doesn't happen very often, but it does. Like I do have that TI that decides if I'm going to join in or if I just can't do it.
Got it. You said that you tend to be bossy. So is that your masculine FE at work then? Like you're bossing the tribe with that masculine tribe function?
Probably my TI is logical, and so I seem very firm sometimes, so I'm trying to not do that. But yeah, that FE is masculine, and it's, as my daughter says, I don't make you feel bad a lot, but if I need to put you in your place, then you will feel very small. And it will be something you will not squirm away from. And it's true. And maybe it didn't need to be said, or maybe it did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I kind of like, I don't know that other people describe me that way, but as I've gotten older, I've had to like be careful with that. Like, I don't want to be bossy and I don't want to push on people. But you're not going to push me either. So I'd rather just lay down on the table and then we can decide if that's going to be a match or if we're going to do something else. Okay.
Got it. You have feminine SI. Does that mean you have a tendency to be messy?
The way that I think Leon from the 9 show described to me, which made perfect sense because his sister's that way. Like, I'm pretty organized, but then there's times whenever, like, I get distracted while I'm trying to organize something. So, like, sometimes, like, for me, like, he's always going the same place every time. Same place every time. Don't move him. The decision is made. I never have to think about it again. However, when I'm stressed, I figure out that I'm stressed whenever my keys aren't there. If they're, like, one time I found them in the fridge. I don't know. And one time, like, I lose my phone a lot. Like, I was actively messaging with somebody, and I guess it was stressing me out a little bit just because it wasn't anything they were saying. It wasn't any conflict that way, but, like, I needed a minute to think, and so I lost my phone. I put it down to get my coffee, and then I lost it. It was gone, out of my sight. But it was really right there next to the coffee pot, but I couldn't find it.
You know that what you just described sounds funny because you would think it would be like a lead intuitive kind of problem, like leaving your keys inside the fridge, but like it seems like anyone that might have feminine SI might put their fridge in a fridge by accident or something.
Right. I mean, one time I lost my phone like 3 times in 30 minutes. So that's whenever I figured out. I was probably 14 when I figured out that somebody told me. They said that means you're stressed, and I really thought about it, and I was like, yeah, okay, that's a sign. So now I take stuff like that as a sign, like, okay, you need to take a minute because obviously whatever's going on, you're stressed about something. So slow down for just a minute and get yourself together. But yeah, I don't know what's going on when that's happening.
What about your feminine TI? So does that mean your identity is kind of movable as a result of that feminine TI, or your truths are movable?
I don't feel like my identity is movable. I do think actually probably about a year ago, one of my friends said, and she's so lead FB, she's awesome. She said she has to talk to different people differently. And so I've really thought about that and thought, I'm going to try that. That sounds really great. And so in that way, like, I try to talk to people in a way that makes sense to them. So I talk differently. At least I'm trying it out this year. Trying differently, not just in the way that I approach people. Like, some of the people that I know, like, are more feelers. I try to talk to them in a more like, try to figure out how they see things. Versus if you're a thinker, then I'll try to switch to logic a little bit more. I don't know. It's weird, but it works. But so I switched back so back and forth between my T and F. My husband says it's hard to argue with me because whenever I'm coming with F, if he says something logical, it's going to hurt my feelings. But when I'm coming with T, if he says something feely, then I'll just steamroll over it. And so I just switch. Like, I think sometimes maybe that's part of the bossy thing too. I think it feels like TE sometimes because the TI and the FE are so close together, and I just flip it so fast in my head. So I do think I pay attention a lot as far as you asking me about the perceptions and stuff about the TI. I think I pay attention a lot to other people's perceptions, and sometimes I have an idea in my head about how something works, and if they are talking to me about their perceptions, then I'll be like, okay, I've got a different piece now. Like, I'm so much more flowy with letting more of that in, more of the logic in. Like, what's your logical explanation for why you're doing this? And I'm pretty easygoing with that kind of stuff.
I think it's because your Ti is feminine and your Fe is masculine, and you're a double decider. So usually when something has a masculine like like attachment to it or flavor to it, it's a little bit more stronger. But it's a demon. But because it's masculine, it's like closer to like you're almost like a pure double decider. Because it's so close. You're like 49-51%. Like I don't know if you.
Yeah, they said I was really, really balanced, and I seem to really know myself because of however it is that my functions do. Like they could really see that. And yeah, I've been a little adult for a long time now. Forever. I was even a little adult growing up. I didn't act like a kid, like never. Well, I did jump on the couch once. That was not adultish. So, there's
What?
stuff like, and I said, I don't know how old I was because I don't remember, but my grandmother was sure to tell me that I was jumping on the couch because my parents had gone outside to like see somebody off or tell them bye. And I started jumping on the couch, and my grandma looks at me, and I said, "Oh, don't worry, my dad's going to come in and spank me as a consequence." And he did, but I got what I wanted. So,
Got it. um,
yeah.
so they said that people who are like ISTJs or ISFJs have this like fascinations with their NE, which is like kind of like a more fantasy world. So do you like watching like fantasy movies like Lord of the Rings or any of those stuff, like, or Star Trek or any of those things?
Um, I don't really feel like an ISFJ because my SF in my animals is last.
Yeah.
And so I don't really act a lot like SFJs in a lot of areas. I I really in the MBTI world I act more like a ESTJ or an ISTJ,
Okay.
maybe, just not extroverted.
Yeah.
But then I don't know, it's weird. I can't even explain it. But when I was younger, I wasn't really very big into fantasy, but now I'm in this 2 different book clubs, and they like to read books, and so I have to read their, I call them teeny bopper books, because some of it's about the coming of age and whimsical fantasy things. And so I really don't like Disney so much. The mother is always horrible in Disney. Sorry, it's going to offend people for me to say that. Sometimes I do, I guess. There's some, and I kind of like Star Wars, but I'm not going to hang it up in my house or something like. But I really like stuff that's real
Okay.
and true stories, based on true stories. I really like to watch people and how they killed their spouses and stuff, um, and how they didn't get away with it and what happened. I like to watch a lot of that. That's probably, I don't know, that's probably some NE there. But I mean, as I've gotten older, I'm trying to incorporate that more stuff that doesn't really happen into my life, so that I can understand people better and why they like to escape into that kind of thing.
Maybe because you're an IJ and IJ's like conspiracy stuff. So when you were talking about like the murder stuff, it's like, it sounds like very mysterious. So I don't know, like, can you talk about do you have any obsession with conspiracy theories and any of that stuff?
It actually, some of that annoys me like a whole lot. Um, I don't, my husband is like, loves all that because he has like all of this, even like, it's so crazy to me. Like, I don't, maybe it's too many ideas that I can have from something.
Yeah.
I really like, so the conspiracy theories, like, are there aliens that live with us, that kind of thing. Eh, I could, that's gonna annoy me after a while. But the stuff that I like is more like based on a true story, like uh what, like, I think that Tiger King on Netflix is so fascinating. Like, there's so many facets to it. That's something that's trending right now that people could probably relate to. But I want to know more about Carol Baskin if she really did kill her husband. What's the theory behind that?
Gotcha.
More about that kind of stuff and less about like, um, you know, is Mufasa going to be king for how long or whatever.
That's so random. Mufasa.
Yeah, like, well, because my SI is visual, whenever I think of something, I have all these pictures in my head and I can see all of it. And so I have to like swim through the pictures and separate them because they're connected, some of them in some ways, and it doesn't make sense to anybody else. And I have to follow a thread and figure out like which thread to follow that's going to end up being the right answer in the context that you're asking me because
Yeah.
I can really get out there and some people follow me and some people don't. It's probably the NE again. I like to play a lot with the NE, but I guess it does get me in trouble.
So you were talking about like the visuals earlier. So you are feminine masculine. That means you're very visual, and you're also a tester. So let's start with the visual stuff first, and then we'll talk about the tester stuff after. Um, like, are you good at like drawing, painting, or any of that kind of stuff, graphic design or graphic arts?
I can draw a stick man, so I think that's pretty awesome. Uh, I actually do paint. I paint landscapes. I don't paint people. No, no, no. I'll try that later. But it's not something that I did poems when I was younger. The painting thing has just happened in the last decade that I just actually got on YouTube and started doing like what Bob Ross was doing, and that started me. And now, not to be too arrogant, but I'm I'm not Monet, but I mean, like, I'm really good at it. Not as good as some people, but not as bad as you think.
Yeah. You mean you pick it up pretty quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I get frustrated a lot, like when I'm trying something new, but I do it anyway because it's something I like.
Now you're also a tester, so that means do you like to try different stuff? Like you like to experiment and
Oh, okay. See, I just figured this out yesterday. Somebody told me I was a tester, and I was like, what? Um, I feel like my husband and my son, they seem to be testers in a different way than me because they'll go over to somebody's house and they'll pick up their stuff and look at it and just smell it, or if it's new they notice like it. I'm like, this is so embarrassing. Put their stuff down. Like, you can't just go pick up somebody's stuff off their coffee table. Put it down. Like, knock it off. You're
yeah.
embarrassing me. So I don't do it that way, but I do get bored if I'm doing the same thing all the time. And so if it gets too monotonous, then I'll just flip the table and do something really crazy. Like, I mean, not like EP crazy, but I'll do something really crazy, like take a different route to work, or um, try something I haven't tried before, pick something different off the menu. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
So you have to try different food.
Yeah, but I have to be in the mood for it. If I'm in the right mood, then I'll try different food.
You're almost like a weird contradiction. You're like an IJEP almost. Like you don't come across as an IJIP. You more come across as an IJEP, which is like the biggest contradiction you can think of because they're the polar opposites, right? But it seems like that's what you are. Like you are an IJEP.
It is very strange. Like, I thought I had more EJ problems, not in the same way, but sort of like with uh I do too much for the tribe and sacrifice myself a lot. It feels like, I mean, not as much as an EJ though. I don't mean it like that, but then I have to step back and get myself together and kind of decompress so they don't take my identity. So it's, yeah, but I mean, Shannon and Dave thought they said it was really hard to type because of however I use my functions. And so they thought I looked like a weird IP at first, but then they started hearing me talk and that wasn't at all what was going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of weird.
You were talking about your painting earlier, and you said that you like to paint landscape, not people, at least not yet. So it made me think, because people who are IJs and EPs, they like to obsess over things, not people.
Oh yeah.
So I was thinking, do you like things, like when people start talking about things like gadgets or household items or like just items in general? Do you like get excited over like things?
I got really super excited that all these years that I'm old now, and all these years I never had a Ninja crock pot, and I got one, and it's, I mean, I can't just go off on that because I could talk to you about that, but anybody that wants to know about one, you can ask me. I'll tell you about my experience with it because I really, yes, recommend it. I I stress about things. I stress about people, but when I'm stressing about people, I stress about what they're doing, not who they are. I'm pretty comfortable with who they are, whether I like it or not. You know, I don't have to like everybody. I don't have to like, but it's more like what they're doing, their choices that they're making. That and I do have friends sometimes that I think this is maybe an IJ problem. I can't be sure yet, but I have friends that will distance themselves from me if they're doing something that they know is morally wrong. And I think it's because I have high standards for myself. So then there's always those friends. So then whenever they come back, then I know, like, okay, they've got themselves together again. Like, it's weird. I don't know if that makes any sense to you.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't push anybody away, but they just feel like I'm intimidating or something. I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only thing that you just showed there was you're really a double decider. You know, you're really balanced with self and tribe. But I noticed that when you start talking about a crock pot, your eyes really lighted up, like it was like really big, and you're like, okay, yeah, like you definitely love things, and if we gave you the time, you could talk about the crock pot for hours, probably. You know, just like.
But I would want to talk about it in a way that wasn't just me talking. I'd want to talk about it in a way that was like, okay, tell me what you like or what you think. I really like the people that talk more than me. I have a friend that's very awesome and a little bossy, and I love her. Like, she will tell me, I'll say, boss me around. I need to know what shoes I should buy next. And she'll tell me, and it's something different and weird, and I'll just do it and I'll love it.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah. I think if there's such thing as an IJEP, it's you for sure. So Lynda, I have two last questions for you, and then we'll wrap this up. So the first one is, because you're so balanced as an ISFJ, what advice can you give to the imbalanced ISFJs who have trouble with that NE at the bottom there? You know, because they have trouble with chaos or gathering things, which you seem pretty okay with, actually. So what advice can you give those other ISFJs out there?
Well, for me, I don't want to tell anybody what to do, but for me, I feel like the biggest aha moment for me in dealing with it's really the SI and the NE in my perception. Um, the the biggest thing that was helpful to me about that is realizing that you're not always right. You don't always have the facts, even though it's just burned in your head and you know it's real. Sometimes it's not real. And it's really easy for your SI to be corrupted because, like, if you're at a party and there's chaos happening or whatever, and you think something happened the way it did, and somebody else says, no, that's not what happened, or that's not what I said, or that's not what I meant, then you really have to take that to heart. Like, maybe even though I just know what I saw, maybe that's not quite right. So you have to think about that, and you have to realize sometimes with that NE, it gets so imaginative and there's so many different paths. Sometimes you take the wrong connection. And so it's good to kind of have like a sounding board or a check about, did I understand that right? Is that what you really meant? Instead of, because for me, like it's okay to guess. I guess that's what they say. For me, because the NE is so active, I tend to guess and then ask later. Like I jump too fast sometimes. But so jump faster if you need to. And then take a little bit more time if you need to. It just depends on where you're at with that.
I think that's fabulous advice. Because I think if I were to boil down what you just said, I think basically what you're saying is don't make assumptions about what you saw, and I think that's a really good advice that you can give to ISFJs. And I think if they listen to that advice, it's gonna make a big difference.
And the NF5, well, maybe not the ISFJs, I guess, don't have the NF5 problem because their F is higher.
Yeah.
Like, so what is their thing? NT5?
What's that?
They have NT demon vibe to worry about?
Yeah, usually consume less. Yeah, like NT. Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, which is not a problem for you, but because you're pretty balanced with that stuff.
No. So what I would say about that is sometimes you have the information, but you don't have all the information. That's such an IJ right there, EP. Yeah. You don't always have all the information. It's okay not to have the information. It's okay not to know everything. I had to learn that at 14. I was 14, and it was July when I learned that. Yeah.
So Lynda, my last question to you is, I have functions that you don't have. I have TE and FI. Is there anything about those functions that you would like to learn about?
Well, I actually studied them quite a bit and kept trying to make them fit because I thought that I had that. I really don't. I love the FI because you love what you love.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter why. Like, you just love what you love. Kind of like Ti, only a little different.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't have any questions yet, but don't worry. I'll sleep on it. I'll message you.
Yeah, no worries. All right, Lynda. Well, thank you for doing the interview. That was great.
Hopefully somebody can learn something from all of this and maybe relate to some of it and comment. That'd be great.
For sure. When your husband gets officially typed, I would love to interview him as well. So just let him know that.
I will. He'll be happy, I'm sure.
All right. Thanks, Lynda. And I'll say bye to everyone. So bye, everyone. And we are done.